All right. Welcome to Halitics. I'm Hal Ginsberg. So glad to be talking today. In the new year, it's 26 already. Carlos, how are you?
Good.
Let me turn off that. Why do we hear that audio? I hear it from something else.
You hear it? I don't hear it.
I'm sorry. I stepped on you all over you. Carlos is not fair, and I keep talking and talking.
In the new
how
year,
are you, my friend? Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Happy New Year. I'm doing great. Ready for all that the new year brings. Ready to see your podcast and my podcast up at the top of the charts this year. This is the year, Hal, for us. Yeah,
it's good. We got a long climb, especially me, but both of us, we got a mountain to scale, but yep. Let's hope. We can always hope. I asked the question starting yesterday's program, or not yesterday, but last Friday, the first program of the year. This is the second for Halitics. Let me put this up on screen actually, because I think it's a really relevant question in light of what we saw over the weekend with Trump's illegal. I don't know. Do you call it invasion? What would you call it even?
It's basically an invasion. It's basically like a invasion / hostile takeover. Yeah, this is honestly.
But is it a takeover though? Because we just left the vice president to Maduro's vice president.
No, you didn't hear what Trump said in the press conference following the invasion, that we're going to run Venezuela, and that they're talking about how Marco Rubio and the vice president had a conversation about how the transition is going to go. I think he's not going to allow the vice president to be in power. I think if she tries to stay in power, they're going to say, oh, she's doing drug ring stuff now too. So and what's her name? Maria Machado already came out and said, we're ready to take over. Just, call us in.
Although apparently Trump doesn't look to, at least according to Max Blumenthal. I've been watching a lot of different videos. According to Max Blumenthal, is very, knowledgeable, very informed on all of this. He doesn't think Machado is Trump's choice. She is not popular. Her ideology, which is basically returning the Venezuelan elites to power, is not going to sell with the Venezuelans. And you made the point, let me just put the question on screen, but we'll get to it. You made the point off break that what's really motivating Trump, and I think you're right, is kind of a neo-colonialist agenda. That is, we get to control your wealth. And he doesn't really care who in Venezuela is, going along. It doesn't matter to him if Machado isn't as popular, if Rodriguez can be the face of the government, then he'll go along with that. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. But here's the question. Can it get worse? I didn't think it could get worse. It can't get any worse, but maybe, I don't know. What do you think?
Get worse. It can always get worse. I think it can get worse. I don't know how. Maybe midterms will be better. The election, I don't see that getting any better. I think we are in for 4 years here. We're in for war. Crazy thing is with this, we still don't have an oppositional party to this war anyway. So I mean, we're kind of on a fast moving boat to the edge of a cliff at this point.
So you're saying we don't even have an opposition. That's kind of what your buddy Senator Nina Turner said yesterday on the Progressive Democrats of America call. Were you on that call as well? Did you hear any of that?
No, I didn't hear about that call. What happened?
She was harshly critical of Democrats, saying they hadn't spoken out against Trump's, I would say, illegal seizure, shall we say, his decision to depose a foreign leader. I know there's some argument, we had an indictment. He was indicted in a New York City court, so therefore we get to go in and completely overrun the sovereignty of another nation. Last I checked, indictments from New York City federal district courts are not legally binding in Venezuela. You have to go to the court. The way this works, people were asking me about this extradition. You got to go to the court in the country where the person you want to seize is, the person you want to arrest is, and then get that court to approve an arrest. Now, last I checked, that didn't happen. So this was illegal.
Not even the International Criminal Court. Like this was just in the crazy thing is when it came out that he was going to New York City about this, I was like, that's weird because he's not a U.S. citizen. So what are we gonna bring him up on American law and say like, hey, you didn't follow our law in your country? It doesn't make sense. But also, if this was really about drugs, we would go after the countries where the drugs are coming from, not Venezuela, where drugs just do not come over here to.
That gets two nose touches, Carlos.
Right? But you're right. No, what you said was right. This is just colonial expansion, and I think this is like I also, and this may be giving Trump too much of the benefit of the doubt. I think he doesn't know what's going on. I think this is more Marco Rubio, the Floridian people who are the more like came over here after the regime change or after the Venezuelan civil war back with Chavez and stuff. I think this is them saying like, we want our war now. Now we want, because I also think this is a bigger project to take over Cuba, to also take over probably countries like Colombia, Chile, other of those Latin American countries that are on the more communist side. This may be affecting Brazil too, whatnot.
Yeah, I think all that is in play. I don't think there's anything you said that I disagree with there, Carlos, at all. And in fact, to be fair, you were the one who brought up during our conversation the neo-colonial aspect of the war. I mean, they're all tied together. We got a bunch of different factors. Let's go to, I guess, first Trump here. We've got a bunch of videos to play. We're going to go for just 1 hour. It's going to be relatively regular-sized Halitics with Carlos. Don't forget, please click subscribe. If you click subscribe, like, all interactions are welcome. And this is from just a regular news station. I'm not going to play all of it. They kind of play along. By the way, we're hearing all the happy Venezuelans. I'm very skeptical of that. I know reporters from Venezuela are saying that is not accurate. It's just a few. As you said, the elites, right? The elite Venezuelans who are excited. Maybe the elite Cubans as well, and that's who Marco Rubio is. That's his nation of origin, or his parents anyway. I think he was born in the United States. Obviously, he must have been, but his family comes from Cuba, and they were mad. They were rich. They had all the, they had the land, they had the resource, they had the money, and here comes who was the guy? Castro, right? He seizes it. They're not happy. I understand it, but you guys were kind of exploiting the country for the benefit of the U.S. and making money yourselves. So
here comes revolution. Let's run.
All right, here's Trump.
So we are going to run the country until such time as we can do a safe, proper, and judicious transition.
Breaking news tonight from President Donald Trump. The United States will run Venezuela, at least temporarily, after a bold and secretive military operation pulled leader Nicolas Maduro from power and removed him from the country.
All right, so there's what you were just saying. We're going to run the country. And just a little more from, I think this is still a little bit more Trump. Here we go.
Many years.
The president says with Maduro deposed, the U.S. will run Venezuela indefinitely.
We're going to run the country until such time as we can do a safe, proper, and judicious transition.
Venezuela has the world's largest oil reserves.
We're going to be taking out a tremendous amount of wealth out of the ground, and that wealth is going to the people of Venezuela and people from outside of Venezuela that used to be in Venezuela. And it goes also to the United States of America in the form of reimbursement for the damages caused us by that country.
So, yeah, I'm not buying that money, that wealth is going to the people of Venezuela, Carlos.
Oh, no. Well, the elite people of Venezuela who want their money back, I guess. They're saying we're going to give it to the upper echelon of Venezuela, and the Venezuelans who came to America to have their upper echelon, they're going to go back and get that. Yeah, this is stupid. I mean, it also goes into all those people saying that, oh, we don't want immigrants coming in. What do you all think this is going to do? This is going to just expand people immigrating to the United States because we're destabilizing and basically invading and taking over of their country. People are going to flee again or flee. And then we're going to get a bigger immigrant population. Then we're going to expand on our immigration, our our neo-colonial immigration efforts here. It doesn't make sense. This is the dumbest thing I've heard.
It's really, really bad stuff, Carlos. It's appalling what Trump is doing here. There's just a lot of different layers to this. Let's keep going. We're going to go right down. I'm going to go right down the slide deck because I put pretty much everything I want to get to, I think, in it. And I also want to get your takes where I miss stuff. But I think we're on the same page here. Here is the former vice president of Venezuela, now President Delcy Rodriguez, sounding a pretty defiant tone, at least yesterday.
Moving moment by moment out of Venezuela, the de facto leader there has now for the first time appeared on camera, demanding the immediate release of Nicolas Maduro and his wife, calling their capture a kidnapping. Right now, meantime, Maduro, in that image, you see him. It was posted by President Trump. He is on his way to the United States to face drug trafficking charges in the Southern District of New York. Meanwhile, the vice president of Venezuela, Maduro's vice president, her name is Delcy Rodriguez. She just spoke. She had
a little trouble with that name there, Delcy Rodriguez.
She did.
I think it's Rodriguez. Okay, like not that hard. But hey, you're only getting millions and millions of dollars from CNN. Now, I'm being sort of snarky, a little bitterness. Yes, it's the new year. Why isn't Halitics getting CNN numbers, which really aren't even that great, to be honest.
How get CNN numbers? That might be going down for you.
Dude, I can't even get close to CNN. That's how bad things are these days. Please help out. Please subscribe. Let's get us to the 500, the magic 500 number, and start getting a little bit of money. Carlos, before we play more of this, before we hear from the Veep, talking about the drug issue, is it really drug smuggling that Trump is concerned with? Now, first of all, we know that Venezuela is a very minor player, right, in the drug game. It's Colombia, it's Mexico are the two major vectors. And also, Trump made the point, yes, Canada too. He did acknowledge Canada. Obviously, that huge border, a lot of drugs coming in from the north as well. But even if you want to accept that, yeah, there is some narco-terrorism, is the new term du jour, from that stems from Venezuela. He let that guy from Honduras go, right? We had a president of Honduras who was convicted on many, many, many counts, and Trump just lets him go.
Yeah. He said, "You're my friend. You're bringing in the kind of drugs I like." Now, the craziest part is that this whole destabilization and regime change of Venezuela, you're going to have the factions of the whatever kind of drug cartels that they do have expanding, because they're saying, hey, look, when the government kind of crumbles, that leaves us to fill in that role of like, hey, we're taking over. And what's going to happen when you have factions running different parts of Venezuela, and then it turns into an even bigger drug ring there. So to me, this was not about drugs at all. It's just like when Trump was blowing up fishermen boats and just killing people. That wasn't about drugs. That was about just showing authority and showing that, hey, we can do whatever we want to your country.
More from, let's get to the vice president. Here she is.
Now I want to play for you what she just said to Trump.
We demand the immediate release of President Nicolas Maduro and his wife, the only president of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela.
Yeah, so a defiant tone, clearly. We demand his release. She's not mincing words. A lot of folks were happy to hear that. The problem is, if you're going up against Goliath, it's very, very difficult to maintain that stance, Carlos.
Yeah, to me, the only really kind of power they would have in this situation is military, because no one really... I mean, Trump doesn't care what the vice president says. He didn't care what the president of the country said. So to him, she's just another obstacle in the way, and to arrest her at some point. I think that right now, Trump, like he said, we're gonna run Venezuela. So I'm, in my mind, I don't even think he sees the vice president as a true leader. He just sees it as someone who we're waiting for you to get out or step down or get taken down,
or do exactly what I tell you. And, just nod when because I got my hand, inside of your shirt and I'm telling what to do. Rodriguez strikes, by the way, that was not a sexual reference. It was like, when you have a puppet and you have the Delcy Rodriguez strikes conciliatory. So no more of that. Release the president now. we will work with you because after you threatened that I'd pay a very big price. I want to say, I agree with this analysis. I'm not prepared to condemn Rodriguez. She must walk tightrope as Venezuela's interim leader. Yeah, I think that's right. I don't know what else do you do here.
Yeah, it's the United States is a big bully, and it's not like she can take on this type of bully. This is going to be either you fully stand up and say we're ready to go to war and try to bring in other countries to help, because I do not think Venezuela against the United States one-on-one war, military-wise, they're not going to win that. So you would need to turn it. This would turn into a regional war, which would probably turn into another world war, which, I mean, Trump probably, now this is conspiracy theory time, that may work out for Trump in his favor to do a world war and turn it into kind of one of those, like, you can't get rid of me as president now. There's a world war going on. Let me stay for a while. This may be the start of that. But also she's trying to keep her life. She's trying to also not probably get arrested too. Or I don't want to say arrested because that's not really what happened. It's more kidnapped. Yeah. She doesn't want to get kidnapped.
Well, he's threatening to kill her. She could pay a very big price, probably bigger than Maduro. By the way, look for video, look for audio of this. Apparently he said that statement in an interview that was not recorded. It was just with the newspaper, so we don't have that, or magazine. And then Rodriguez in response, I think it was The Atlantic, I'm not certain about that. She could pay a very big price, probably bigger than Maduro. So I think that to me means he's saying we'll kill you.
Yeah, like we're done playing games here. But I mean, also you're going to see what the people of Venezuela want, because there's already been protests in Venezuela. So how much is she pulled from both ends, from the Venezuelan people to like, no, we want you to go 10 toes down. You're not capitulating to him. And then you have the U.S. death threats of like, do I just try to save my life, or does she just go and say, you know what, I'm stepping down. I'm not made for this, to deal with this. Put in whoever you want to. I'm done. And like we see some leaders, they go flee to another country that is more open to them. So that may be what we see. It's a depressing thing. And like we said earlier, which we'll get into later, there's no opposition to this really either within the United States.
By the way, Carlos, let me just comment on your attire today. Excellent. Really like the hoodie.
Really?
Good choice. You. It's always welcome on Halitics.
Oh, always. We're both rocking hoodies in this
Although
new year.
I'm going to say, yeah, you notice, I don't know, do you have any, like, because I got my Maryland, I'm flying my Maryland flag here, shirts. At least
I have one that I got when I did when we were voting on the marijuana legalization. It was like a marijuana leaf that had the flag within it, but that was it.
I like that. Well, that's because you had Luke Jones, right? I mean, he's the ultimate legalized pod guy.
He is the biggest marijuana activist I've ever seen.
Yes. Yeah, he's a marijuana activist, and he's also a marijuana consumer, actually.
Connoisseur.
And he's proud of it. And why 100%. Shouldn't he be?
Of course.
No, I have a friend who puts Luke to shame in that category. I want to just say. Really? So shout out.
Hal. Shout out to your friend.
Shout out to my buddy. I got some stuff from my kids. I try to wear only sweatshirts that I really can connect to in some way. So I did not ever attend the University of Maryland, but my son and my wife both have gotten degrees there. So I think I'm allowed to wear it.
Of course.
Wear my alma mater, law school alma mater, undergraduate. I've also tell me if this is a close enough connection. I have a Cal Bears sweatshirt, and my kids say I'm not allowed to wear that.
Why?
But I did attend summer classes there. So is that close enough?
Yeah, you can wear it. You're an alumni if anything by association, but you're alumni. Actually, you went there.
I did. I took classes there. I wrote a very small check for a couple $100 for the classes. I think I should absolutely.
Honestly, you paid for it at this point multiple times.
Of course, I don't know why there's even an issue there. I was at this. I went to the commissary, the student government store there. I didn't buy it there. I bought it online. But yeah, no, I don't think this is easy. This is easy.
If anything, the school's glad you bought it, whether you went there or not. They want someone to just come with a check.
Of course. Well, they're glad I bought. Well, I didn't buy the sweatshirt with the check for the $100. That was for my classes when I went to class there. May not have been that much. Do you agree, though, that if there's zero connection, like, for example, do you see the guys wearing Harvard shirts and they've never been to Harvard, they've never been to Cambridge, Massachusetts? Is that okay in your opinion?
I don't really.
You don't spend a lot of time. This isn't that important to you, Carlos? Really?
It's not that important. You know what? I will say yes. I am okay with people wearing it, especially because look, some stuff you just go to the thrift store and you need something to put on. You get that. But then also, I would prefer you, if you do wear it and you didn't go to school there, don't buy it from the school. Either buy it from someone, buy it from the thrift store or something. Just don't give those big schools that much more money. Just do it that way.
I feel you. I feel.
Or you know what else, Al, you do? You go get the letters at like a little craft store. Get a sweater. You just iron on yourself. Yeah.
Those don't usually last that long, though. I found the, do-it-yourselfers. It doesn't look quite as good, and the letters aren't all imperfect.
Well, how's that? They're not that hoodie holding up?
Arranged correctly. But maybe this isn't that important. Maybe this isn't important. Let's get to the criticism of the critics like us. And actually, before we do that, Carlos, this is a hard story for me because I'm absolutely appalled by what Trump's doing. I think it's just horrific. I actually put a post up. I'll show that now, that he's officially one of the 4 worst presidents of all time. Took me a while to get him there, because there's a lot of competition. You've got overt genocider Andrew Jackson from the 19th century. You've got Nixon, who did a lot of terrible things. George W. Bush, who had Torture Dick as his Veep. But I think it's fair to put Trump in that category at this point.
Yeah.
So I guess my question is, those who try to defend Trump, well, but what about Obama? What about Biden? They did really bad things too.
Yeah, I would have put Biden in that circle too.
That's what someone said. Also, Reagan, I think, is fair to throw in there. I wouldn't put Biden. I as bad as Biden was, I can't quite. He was really bad. Ukraine, Israel.
Yeah. Cutting off basically all of the pandemic relief stuff by saying it's over too.
Did he do that?
Yeah. Remember, Biden was the one who who announced the pandemic was over, didn't really push he pushed us to restart student loan payments. He was the one saying like we don't need the extra unemployment money. When he said that the pandemic's over, that initiated all the programs to stop.
Yeah, I think Biden was really bad. I don't want to get into the weeds here. I hear the argument. I'm not rejecting it out of hand. This is what I posted in response to somebody who made that exact same point as you just did online, actually. Well, except they're a righty, not they're Trump, a MAGA, but sort of the same arguments. And I said, hey, I hear you. I'm not saying you're necessarily wrong, but I don't think he quite reaches that level. This is really the worst of the worst. I'm not sure I put Biden there. I understand others would. I also, though, think Reagan has an argument. But I think these 4 have really surpassed or, fallen below the others. So that's just my take.
I mean, if you look did you ever see Boondocks? The show
I don't really watch that. My son watches that a little bit.
It was good. On Boondocks, they even say Reagan was the devil, especially because you look at the letters of his name. His first, middle, and last name each have 6 letters in it. So he's like 666. Yeah.
So the character I'm familiar with, everyone knows Uncle Ruckus. He is a Reagan supporter, right? Is that correct?
He's a Reagan supporter, of a Republican, of a pro-white man, racist, all that.
Yeah, my son says Clarence Thomas is
Ruckus,
so but and they just sort of he's just like in the background, right? Like nobody, like just sort of noise, just the background.
He actually becomes like a really important side character. He does a lot in the show. He has a whole bunch of jobs, so everybody always hires him for stuff, and he always turns down black people to work for them, even though they'll pay him more to work for the white people who pay him less. And then that's just his whole character. I always thought they were going to give him like a spin-off story or something, and they actually, one of the episodes, they talk about how he was like his birth and like his raising and stuff, where his parents, spoiler alert, were his mother was convincing him he was actually a white man who had like revitiligo, so the opposite of what Michael Jackson had.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's sad because every group that's being oppressed or that's just, not doing as well is going to have folks who are going to side with the oppressor group or the group on top. I mean, it's just, we see that over and over. There are some Palestinians I've seen who are defending Israel. And I get it. Yeah, you don't like Hamas, but come on. And
not pro-Israel. And you have some Palestinians who are just quiet. DJ Khaled, one of the most famous Palestinians in the world, has yet to say anything about this at all.
Yeah, I don't like that. I don't like that. Yeah. But I don't like Jews who support Israel because it's the Jewish state. I don't like that at all. 240-242-5646. Would love to hear from you in this new year with the left-handed leftist Carlos Chavez and his he's got that smile. He's got the big grin. The link to the YouTube channel is in our show description, but also you can find Carlos, I guess, Instagram and
Instagram.
Now,
TikTok,
are you going to get banned from Instagram like Brianna? Did you hear Brianna Joy Gray?
Yeah, banned from Instagram. Who knows? I'm hoping not. I get banned from there. Yeah, it's horrible. They are coming after the actual left in this situation, and the worst part of it, there's not much support that we have on the left from institutions, but also from the quote unquote mainstream Democratic Party is not helping either. So yeah, no, I'm hoping not to get banned. I still got my TikTok and everything, and I'm waiting for whatever new social media pops up again as TikTok becomes owned by Zionists too. So
it's very scary. It's really, I mean, this is your freedom of speech. People say, well, those are private companies, but they're private companies that are taking control of our public, what are now our new public square, our new public spaces, A, and B, with the backed by the U.S. government, right? It's not, the government isn't just hands off. Trump is pushing these mergers, and we saw the Democrats seemingly in support of them as well, whether it was Biden, certainly Hillary Clinton. They're all carrying water for the mergers because they're saying it's TikTok, it's the media that has turned people against Israel by actually presenting the facts, by showing what Israel's actually doing. People are turning against Israel, so we can't let them know what's happening. So that's the argument by many. Van Jones, right? He made the same point, right? Dead baby, dead baby, dead baby.
Yeah.
But then he threw something else in there as well. I can't remember what it was. But
something like Goofy or something like a cat video or something. And I mean, like, it's just in seeing the downfall of like certain leftist people to like go down that like pipeline into like mainstream Democratic politics. It's disgusting. But even with this, I mean, it's like the Democratic argument has been Trump should have come to Congress for this approval of this illegal strike on Venezuela. I don't buy that. I do not think that the actual Congress people would have wanted that vote to come up, because I think the majority of them would have voted for this to happen. The problem is, and I was listening to someone, I'm forgetting who it was, but they were talking about how they don't want the same vote like they did in Iraq to vote to go into war. So they're like, I'm glad Trump is doing this. That's why all they're going to talk about is like, he should have come to Congress first, but Maduro's also a dictator, but Maduro's also this. I'm like, look, if Maduro's a dictator, he's a dictator. Why is that on the United States to be like, we're going to start taking over another country who's a dictator? Because if we wanted to do that, it's a lot of countries that we're just ignoring and letting,
and a lot of worse countries. And a lot of countries are doing far more horrible things than Venezuela. So no, but that said, I'm not as critical, and I'm always critical of Democrats, but in this case, they have a point. I mean, he did clearly violate the law. He started a war. He violated the sovereignty of another country, and he didn't get congressional approval. I think it's a fair criticism to bring that up, Carlos. I mean, what would you, let me ask you this, what would you prefer Democrats to say?
I would prefer them to say that he shouldn't be doing this at all. Like, there should be no approval for it. There should be no actual strikes. And this would be my key to call for like impeachment. This is what I would call for an impeachment around, not around the scandal with Stormy Daniels, not around the moving the money around, like actual something that people can put and say, like, this is something that actually people did not want. It activates his side of Trump's base who did not want this. It activates the Democrats who want to oppose Trump. And you could have brought together like an actual coalition of people, highlight figures like Thomas Massie to vote in favor of impeachment, things like this, and turn this into a like, do you agree with this or not? I think Democrats taking a stance as far as like, hey, come to Congress for approval. I don't think they really want this. Like I don't think the Congress people actually want this to come to a vote for them.
I agree he should be impeached for this. And I think part of the reason he should be impeached is because he didn't get congressional approval. And I think that should be the point that they make. This is really, really awful. The other crime, I mean, he's done a lot of really bad things, violating all sorts of laws when it comes to supporting Israel and the treatment of immigrants, especially now with the thugs running rampant in our streets. I think all of those are impeachable offenses. Would like to see Democrats step forward and call for it. Have any? I don't know. I know Al Green from Houston, Texas, a congressman has said that, but he's kind of known for his impeachment articles. Is there anyone else in the Democratic Party that you're aware of that has been talking impeachment, Carlos?
No, I haven't heard any of it. I've heard Chuck Schumer talking about like we need to see the facts of what Trump's talking about. Hakeem Jeffries condemned what happened, said they should have come through Congress. Even the Maryland Congress people, I've heard them say that Trump should have come through Congress for it. I haven't heard anyone just come out and saying like this should not have happened at all. Even the ones who are saying you should go through Congress, you're not even hear them saying this should have gone through Congress. I would have voted to not do this.
I want to show there's a lot going on with the excuses, especially, well, Democrats don't get to criticize. And you're sort of saying, well, they support this, but I'm not a Democrat, so I guess I don't fall into this, but I've been often accused, well, you don't get to say anything because look how bad the Democrats are because they didn't speak out against what Obama did, what Biden did. And how do you respond to that? Here's one saying Osama killing bin Laden, because we're talking about Osama bin Laden, Obama killing bin Laden, violated international law as well. If you supported that but are against Maduro being arrested, you're being hypocritical as well. Your response to that, Carlos?
One, I wasn't even old enough to be against it. Obama was in office when I was in middle school. Secondly,
so you don't even count. You're not.
I don't even count towards. They're not talking to me. But my other thing is that you mess up when they say if you supported that. I think a lot of people they don't support what goes on. They just don't say anything when it's their team in office. If you don't say anything, I don't take that as bad as you saying, oh, no, I support the airstrikes on Pakistan, Libya, all those other countries. If you support it, I don't have any kind of hope for you in that instance. And then if you do support it, chances are you're not against what Trump is doing. The people who support that support all kind of war. I think a lot of people just don't speak up when it is their president in office from their party. And I think that goes to the bigger issue of the duopoly is that people look at parties almost like a football team or like a sports team, that I can never criticize my team because we're supposed to win.
Right. And if your quarterback is like harasses women, that's okay. But if their quarterback does, then every time he touches the ball, you start hooting and hollering. So that's exactly what we see here. Also, the two wrongs don't make a right argument is very good here. And by the way, I did criticize, I remember very clearly when I was on radio talking about the seizure of bin Laden. Now, I thought it was okay to seize him. He was not the leader of the country. He was not even, as far as we know, afforded Pakistan. He was in Pakistan when he was killed. He was assassinated by the U.S. Navy SEALs, I believe, who who breached his compound. But he was an extra legal figure. He wasn't the legitimate sovereign. He wasn't the president of a country. He was hiding out in a hole somewhere. And I believe there had been a number of congressional authorizations allowing that, which there were not for Maduro. So they're not comparable. They're not comparable at all. But even if there's some legit comparison, I don't think we should have killed bin Laden. I think we should have arrested him and taken him into custody and then found out what happened on 9/11. But this, by killing him, we lost a valuable witness.
No, you're right.
So this is a ridiculous argument. It's absurd, but it's just a way to avoid saying, Trump is a bad guy who did a bad thing and we shouldn't support him.
Exactly. And the weirdest part to me of this post would be, do you agree with what Trump is doing to Maduro? Because it seems like this person would criticize Obama for what he did, but it doesn't seem like they want to criticize Trump either. So it's like, you can't have your cake and eat it too, but then criticize other people for doing the same thing as you.
I think a lot of righties actually were okay with when they killed bin Laden. I don't know that person who posted
is okay
that
with this. Like a lot of people on the right are like, well, Maduro was bad. Well, he was horrible. But then they spent the whole time when talking about Trump during the election. Trump was the only president to not start any wars. He's not going to start any wars. He's anti-war. Now that this is happening, oh no, we support getting rid of Venezuela's dictator. Why is that? I just do not understand why it is United States citizens feel like it is our job to take over the world and decide what happens. So I am kind of the same agreement with people that the United States is similar to like a version of like Hitler, of saying like, no, it's our job to be in control of the world. We will we will decide what it looks like, how you act and all that. And I'm like, and we're not doing it to save the people of Venezuela. We're doing it for our own colonial expansion and takeover of Latin America, which is going to go into other countries as well. Honestly, if Europe, the weird thing is we're upset at Venezuela for being a quote unquote communist country, if you want to call it that. We have similar kind of countries in Europe that you don't see us talking about. You have never heard us talking about overthrowing Norway or Sweden of their presidents or kings or whatever they have.
Well, that could change, right? Because Trump wants to take over Greenland, which is, I think,
it's like run by the
Danish.
Dutch.
So,
who knows?
So there you go. Look, here's Marjorie Taylor Greene making your point. This is a betrayal of MAGA. Trump's whole shtick is America first. We shouldn't be spending all this money overseas. We're wasting it. We shouldn't be involved in wars like in Ukraine, which he's right about. He was right about that. And I gave him props for that.
Yeah.
So MTG, Marjorie Taylor Greene, 100% accurate on this. I'm not going to go be too hard on the Democrats right now, though. At this point, I have to see more. The way I'll be hard on the Democrats is one of the points that Nina Turner made yesterday when I was watching her video, which is what Trump did is really bad. It's not really unprecedented. I don't compare what happened with bin Laden to, I don't think that's really on all fours a good comparison. But how about taking out Gaddafi? How about bombing, destroying Libya? How about destroying Iraq on totally lies, right? They did not have weapons of mass destruction, and they were not involved in 9/11. And yet Trump, then W, pushed through a bipartisan consensus or bipartisan support for doing just that. So we've done some terrible things. Hillary fomented a military coup in Honduras against the Democratic Socialists. So I think that's the argument that Nina Turner's making. And I don't have a good answer to that. You're right. Both parties suck.
Yeah. Democrats play into just as much pro-war as the Republicans do, because both of them are bought off by the military industrial complex, who's loving this. They are like, this is another shopping spree through the store for them to say, all right, cool. What kind of bombs can we start mass producing? What kind of weapons? What kind of planes? How can we just turn war into a more and more profitable thing? And we're doing all this while the United States is suffering. into the new year. This is just the icing on top of the cake. And the crazy thing is that I think because we're in an election year, you're going to have a lot of elected officials, especially running for Congress and Senate, who want to use this as like, oh no, who want to use this to like launch their campaigns. The problem is, I think that they're going to go about it in a way of like, we should just get approval through Congress. And if you ask the candidates, I would love to ask the ones who try to run as like progressives or just as Democrats. So would you, if it did go through Congress, would you have voted to do this strike? And you'll watch them, a lot of them probably talk about how bad Maduro was and just say, I don't know, I have to see the evidence, but Maduro's bad. He's a dictator, all that. And then I think that there's also one thing that we haven't discussed here yet is that we in the United States, we're calling Maduro a dictator without talking about it in context of when the United States is constantly trying to overthrow and have regime change to a point you cannot have just open elections and make everything open, because that opens up the United States to coming in and further destabilizing you, just like how we have heavy sanctions on Cuba. Are we to look at Cuba and Venezuela and say, oh, yeah, they should have regular elections, have everything open so that the U.S. can just easily come in and take over? No, they have to do some form of dictatorship, authoritarianism.
Yeah, I think that's a really great point. And we're not hearing enough of that. The New York Times pointing out, oh, Maduro, he's illegally president. They stole the election. And it does look like, the Carter Center for Democracy did say, hey, it wasn't a fair election. And he probably lost the last go round. I guess it was against Machado. Mm-hmm. But no, was it against Machado?
It was.
Sure. But my answer to that
they made
is,
it so
again,
that she couldn't. They said that she wasn't an actual candidate, so they didn't let her run. But I think she ran anyway and just didn't get a lot of votes, or like she technically wasn't on the ballot. I don't.
Well, apparently the analysis of the ballots that were extant, they had a paper trail, showed that Maduro definitely didn't get a majority of the votes, and I can't remember who did. But there's a lot of factors you have to bear in mind. Again, all the sanctions that the U.S. has levied against Venezuela really impoverish the country, so people are upset. They may say, yeah, well, we don't like U.S. involvement, but we need to eat, so let's get rid of Maduro. I mean, there's a lot of factors involved. Also, just tremendous amount of pressure, propaganda campaigns. It's funny that the U.S. makes such a big deal about how important democracy is, including the left, like the New York Times and folks like that, which it is important. I mean, it's incredibly important. I agree with them. But then when elections don't go the way they want, both left and right, oh, well, it was a Russia camp. It was Russia. Trump only won because of Russia. Or Trump only lost because it was rigged, right? The voting machines. Nobody seems to accept, well, maybe, the other candidate just was more popular. So we see that all the time, that in this country, when your candidate loses, it's not because they ran a bad campaign or their policies suck or they were bad in office. It's some nefarious scheme. But in Venezuela, oh no, it was totally on the up and up. They should have given it to if it had been fair, Maduro would be out. Well, the U.S. put a very, very heavy, very powerful thumb on the scale against Maduro. And even to the extent he did steal that election, we still shouldn't be going in there and seizing the country for our own, for oil, as Trump said. Yeah. Is it oil, though, Carlos? Let me just, because I want to get, no, go ahead. What were we going to say? I don't want to step on you. Go ahead. What were we going to say?
And if it was a sort of like a rigged election, let the Venezuelan people handle that. Let them protest. Let them deal with revolutions as normal other countries have done. You do not see a sort of dictatorship, and it's normal for other countries to come in, because what would happen in the United States? Are we comfortable with us having a dictatorship, and then China comes over and says, you know what, we don't like that Trump got elected. We're going to just remove him, arrest him, bring him to Shanghai to face charges. And then we here are just going to just say, all right, cool, we'll take J.D. Vance as president now until China decides who we want. No, the American people would have to handle that, just like the Venezuelan people should handle that too. And then also, it's hard to look at the Venezuelan people and say that, Machado would have won. Machado was United States backed. That was the only really seen opposition, is United States backing. I'm sure if the United States pulled away all of its sanctions off of Venezuela, they probably could have open elections, which would probably show Maduro wouldn't be president, maybe. But it is right. Because of how much we want to have control over Venezuela that Venezuelans are standing together in opposition to the United States, which does in turn help Maduro out.
I'm just looking at this real quick. I wanted to get the numbers, but the last election that we're talking about right now, the Democratic Unitary Platform candidate who ran against, I guess, Maduro's party, the Chavista party, they call themselves, I think, the Bolivar Party, and Mundo Gonzalez Urrutia, or Arusha, maybe Arusha, I'm not sure how they pronounce it. He was arguably, apparently, really did get more votes. So look, this isn't great. You want a democracy, but if the U.S. really cared, if Trump really cared about a democracy in Venezuela, he would have worked with Maduro and said, let's make things better. Let's help you. We'll help you out. We're going to make things a little better for the average Venezuelan here in this way and that way. We're going to provide you with more aid, and we're not going to be trying to undermine you at every opportunity. But in return, we need you to take your foot off the throat of democracy. And that would have real power. If you really care about democracy, why aren't you pushing Israel to give Palestinians full self-determination? That's democracy. Obviously, Trump couldn't care less about it. And I hate that argument. Well, you're not doing this, so therefore you don't get to do that. No, the reason we make it is because it belies the claim that Trump is actually trying to push democracy, or the end result of this endeavor is going to be a more democratic Venezuela. It's not going to be.
No. And I mean, it's hard for Trump to say democracy at all when didn't we just bail out Argentina? And Trump threatened them to say, if you don't bail out, if you all do not reelect Milei, we're going to sanction you all. So we don't care about democracy. We just want imperialism. And then with calling it democracy for us. Because, I mean, the United States, we don't even have a democracy here. And I think that's the biggest thing, is that United States citizens, to a point, don't want to recognize that we are not a democracy. We just let you vote. That's it.
Carlos, this is a tough topic for me because, as you know from working with me, I do Halitics to try to make things better, to come up. The whole goal here is solutions. We have terrible problems. How do we solve them? I don't have a solution here. I don't know what to do.
I don't. The United States, unfortunately, is not a revolutionary country. I don't think we're going to have some big protests and then everything just goes the way it should go. I don't know. I want to have on my podcast too some conversations with people from other countries, or just people who have studied revolutions in other countries, to see how do they change the actual the structure of a country. Because again, I just don't see this whole thing of protesting working now. I don't think Trump cares. I don't think if the next president is a Democrat, I don't think they care about us protesting, because they feel like you're still going to do everything. I'm still going to do what I want to. You're still going to protest. And I'm still going to tell you at the end of the day, you either vote for me or you vote for the other person. And I have enough cultural wars and stuff to argue about that you're not going to vote for the other person. So I don't know how. In when it comes to foreign policy, I know we're talking about this. I know U.S. citizens all around the country are talking about this. I'm not too big on the discourse. I'm hearing so far a lot of people saying I don't care about Venezuela, but we shouldn't be doing this because of blah blah blah. And I'm like, I don't think U.S. citizens care really about foreign policy. I think they just don't like our money going to it. But I don't think that caring about where the money goes is far enough into actually stopping it. It's more just I don't really care.
I'm going to push back on that, Carlos. I think the problem is that we don't have choices, right? Both parties, we've talked about this, both parties support imperialism. Both parties support colonialism. I think part of the reason Trump got elected is because he actually talked a better game than Harris. Harris lost support because of her, remember, we'll have the most lethal military ever, and we're going to, I can't think of anything I would do differently. And let's be clear here, Israel was attacked. And those statements really turned on people. I think people when Trump went on CNN and he said, he was asked, well, do you want Putin to win? And he said, well, I want people not to die. That statement garnered, now we know Trump lies and he didn't, he was, I think in that case, he was sort of sincere. I guess he does want Putin to win. I don't really know. But Americans are sick and tired of these overseas wars and the incredibly expensive, but we don't have a choice. Both parties put up really bad candidates when it comes to militarism.
Yeah, you're right. And I think that unfortunately a lot of people are stuck in a duopoly mindset. So they're not going to really look at an independent candidate, a third party candidate. I think that actually, I won't say that. I think the system is so rigged against it's less rigged, in my opinion, against third-party presidential candidates than it is independent candidates. Because as we saw with Cornel West, RFK, for all of their both craziness, you can't really run for president as an independent. It's just way too many barriers for you to get on the ballot. I think third parties have a similar hurdle just of mentality of people thinking I'm going to ruin my chances for like another person. So you're right. Our duopoly kind of messes up.
How do we change that? That's what I'm trying so hard to change, Carlos. I think you probably are too.
I think it has to be, and this is sad, I think it has to be a local fight. It's a build up to a national sense of a third party. I have a podcast coming out this week with Owen Silverman Andrews, who's the lieutenant governor for the Green Party, or he's the lieutenant governor candidate for the Green Party here in Maryland. And one thing I asked him as we closed out the podcast was, why does the Green Party only kind of, or is seen as running for these like governor, lieutenant governor, presidential races, but not like lower races? And he talked about how the Democrats in Maryland basically set up the system here to where you have to get a certain percentage of a governor level, or just do 100,000 people.
Yeah, it's really tough. It's very onerous. The petition signature requirement is very onerous. Well, that's a fair point. And there are some Greens who run for lower offices as well, and they have really, really struggled. So, I mean, I think this is more on the voters. Voters have a duty to vote for the best candidate, especially if the two major party candidates are both awful, and they so often are, right? Yeah. Wes Moore versus Larry Hogan. Anybody really? I mean,
who's happy about that? Like, who are the people who? One, I am
Wall
sick
Street,
and tired.
The real estate industry.
But you know one thing I'm sick of? I am so sick of Democrats keep talking about Hogan as this big threat that we should all be like, no, don't criticize Wes Moore because Hogan's around the corner. Hogan, in my opinion, has no chance of ever winning a statewide election in the state of Maryland ever again. We saw he did not beat Angela Alsobrooks. He lost by a huge margin. There is more polarization when it comes to Republican Democrat within the state. We are a solid blue state. I think, honestly, Democrats and just people in Maryland who are to the left should look at Maryland as like we could be a two-party state, Greens and Democrats, and let Republicans do whatever they want to, because Democrats already outnumber Republicans 2-1 in the state of Maryland. We shouldn't really care about Republicans in office in Maryland.
Well, we should care about having the best candidate, and I don't think the best possible person. I don't think it's Wes Moore. No, Carlos, we talked a lot about the oil, the imperialism. What about, or Trump talked about the oil. Trump was very upfront. We're going to take all their oil. What about this meme here pointing out that the Chavistas have not been allies of Israel, that they have spoken out against Israeli genocide? Do you think that played a role in the decision by Trump to topple Maduro?
I think it definitely could have helped in Trump's, or helped an argument to Trump. I really don't. If I'm being honest, and this may be a really kind of a hot take, I don't think Trump cares about Israel or Palestine. I think he just goes with what people are telling him. And I think his people are like, look, Israelis and the Israeli lobby has a lot of power. Go along with them. You'll be good. I think he's like, cool, whatever. I think you could have Israel who was pushing this internally through the White House. I just don't think that could have played much into it, just because you also have other, like the majority of the world, I think, supports Palestine. It's just the more powerful countries support Israel. So I think it would have made more sense to me if Venezuela was located near that region. I think that this is
I mean, I think this is just one more factor that militated in favor of taking out Maduro. I don't know if Maduro had been a strong ally of Israel, this may not have happened. We don't know. It would have been very odd if he had been. It would have been completely contradictory to his other positions and to Venezuela's other views. But certainly, it didn't stop. I mean, if anything, it was one more factor, right? One more reason to do it. Probably the oil and just the idea that how dare this, little country steal our oil, even though it's in their country.
In their ground.
It's such a terrible thing. Also, just when you look at the disastrous climate holocaust, the last thing we should be trying to do is drill more oil. But
which is why it's going to be interesting, because I think it was Ro Khanna who said it. He condemned or came out against all of the Democrats running for president basically now, who have not said a word about the Venezuela thing, who don't talk about Israel-Palestine, who aren't talking about foreign policy. Because I think, honestly, if a Democrat gets in office in 2028 as president, are they going to normalize relations with Venezuela? Or are they going to say, hey, this already started, might as well keep it going a little bit, keep the oil pumping? This is stupid to me. And it's not, me personally, I do not say it's about oil, just because we heard Maduro come out and say, I will give you all access to the oil. And Trump even confirmed it. Yeah, he said that they'll give us access to oil. We don't care. We just want him out. And I think Trump probably is one of those people too. Like, the moment I said, we want you gone, there is no other, I got to get rid of you now. He probably sees him as a threat. I heard one person say that Trump saw the video of Maduro dancing and thought he was like taunting him and was like, okay, now you're not going to taunt me on top of that. The one thing I do find weird is that all this talk about dictatorships, remember Trump 1.0, I guess that we call it, when you had, what was it? North Korea. Everyone was like, that's a dictatorship, horrible place. Trump became friends with the man. And then it was like, all right, cool. No problem. Who cares? So I honestly think with Trump too, it's a personality thing. If he likes you as a person, he's like, cool, I don't care.
Yeah, there's a lot of factors going in. This is, we're going to tie a bow around this and wrap it up. But Carlos, really, I said this makes him one of the worst ever. I got chided by somebody we both know. Oh, it took this for you to come to that conclusion. No, I've been moving in that direction. There's a lot of factors. Obviously, the Israel support for Trump's support for Netanyahu, especially horrific. And by the way, we're seeing things getting worse. Again, Israel cutting off, right, the West Gaza now, no more aid coming in. It's terrible. We haven't even gotten to that. I'll talk about that tomorrow. We've got a more centrist guest later in the week, good friend of mine. I'm looking forward to speaking to Steve. But Carlos, anything to wrap it up? We're actually at the end. We went through the whole thing. We stayed on one topic, which is rare. Usually I go through the slide deck, but it's that important. It's that big a story. I mean, I sort of guide you a little bit, but you go in any direction you want. I think the point you made, this is and that Marjorie Taylor Greene made, this is not what Trump himself has wanted. This is not what MAGA has said they support. So how can Democrats use this as leverage to pry some of Trump's supporters away from him?
Excuse me. I think if Democrats actually want to use this, they would have to come out full anti-war. Not just you need to go through Congress, that you should have gone through Congress so that we can say no to this war. I think they're going to have to be strong calls for impeachment, and really, especially as this ramps up, because this is going to, if everything keeps going the way it is, this is going to ramp up into probably troops on the ground in Venezuela. This should be ramping up into, no, we said no more wars. That means no more wars. Calling for Trump's impeachment, just like how they were targeting Republicans when the abortion was taken off the books. they should be coming for Republicans the exact same way and saying, we're forcing you to go in front of all your people, in front of veterans and all that, and say you support going to war with Venezuela, which could mean going to war with the entire Latin or with majority of countries in Latin America. This needs to turn into that. This needs to turn into another like anti-war protest back when we were getting into Iraq. Turn it into a scarlet letter for anyone who supports that. And I want to tell people too, as elections are coming up, because you're going to start getting all the emails, the texts about fundraisers and all that. Go to these events. One, do not pay to go to a fundraiser of anyone, but go to public events. Impress your people or press the candidates that you're looking at to say, what are you going to actually do to stand up against this? Not just what are you going to say and put on a pretty letterhead letter.
Thank you so much, Carlos, the left-hand leftist. Carlos Childs with us. We'll have him hopefully next Monday. That's the regular day. Sometimes it doesn't work out. We put him on a different day, whatever. We all work it out.
I like keeping you on your toes, Hal.
Yeah, I'm not big on that. Let's just keep same thing, same old. That's what I'm big on, the same old. We'll be back. I'll be back tomorrow, hopefully next Monday. Carlos, if not, we'll figure it out. As I just said, have a great afternoon. Thanks so much for being part of Halitics.